Is using the internet and all the technological devices is degrading culture and making us more lazy, stupid and lonely? In what ways the use of the web and digital media network make those who knew how to use it more intelligent? Memory, communication, data analysis, internet-connected devices can give us superhuman powers in all of these realms. Yet, tools like Google, Facebook and Evernote hold at least as much potential to make us not only more knowledgeable and more productive, but literally smarter than we ever been before. The fact that we could invent tools that change our cognitive abilities might sound weird, but it's actually a defining feature of human evolution. When our ancestors developed language, it altered not only how they could communicate, but how they could think. Mathematics, the printing press, and tools such as telephones, calculators, and Encyclopedia Britannica gave people easy access to more knowledge about the world they could absorb in a lifetime. There remained a real distinction between what we knew and what we could find out if we cared to. So, is the internet now essentially an extended hard drive for our brains? That's the essence of an idea called the external mind, first stated by Andy Clark and David Chalmers in 1998.
What I call the extended mind is the idea that the technology we use becomes part of our minds, extending our minds and indeed ourselves into the world. There's a more ordinary kind of mind extension, which is happening to us right now, all the time. Take our friend, the iPhone. It's basically started taking over a whole bunch of the functions of my brain. How many people use their brain to remember phone numbers anymore? Now the iPhone, carrying the load for me, acting as my memory. The iPhone is literally becoming part of your mind. Saying, okay, well, the mind is not just in the brain, it's partly in the world around us, in the environment that we interact with. First time somebody counted on their fingers, that was a kind of mind extension, a kind of addition that could have been taking place in your head is happening on your fingers. But a whole lot to our minds which is outside our consciousness, what we think, our innermost desires, our hopes, our fears, our personality traits, what makes you you. There's a whole bunch of stuff which is outside your consciousness. If it's out there, accessible to you, driving your states, then it counts as part of your mind. If a calculator or a computer is going to be with you, coupled with you, reliably available in the future, it is part of your extended self, and you ought to be testing the whole extended self.
Google and ever more powerful memory aids are cloud-based note-taking apps like Evernote, whose slogan is "Remember everything." Our brains are brilliant at storing and recover information that is viscerally important to us, explains Maureen Ritchie. But they're prone to miss abstract details. Notepads, calendars, and Rolodexes don't use the cognitive science about how remembering people that Evernote uses.
Yeah, I think this idea has been floating around for thousands of years, right? Nobody is fully happy with their meat brain. Everyone wants something better. Everyone wants a better memory, a better brain, and we just thought a few years ago was the right time to actually try to do it. The technology had gotten to a point where it was feasible. So our goal is to be a permanent and trusted place for all of your lifetime memories.
So you can use Evernote to remember your friends, web pages or food recipes, Shazam to find the name of that song, Checkmark for your to-do list. But this might sound like a lot of apps to keep track of, and you still have to remember to enter the information in the first place. Those are exactly the problems that the future generations of mobile softwares will attempt to solve. In 1945, Vannevar Bush designed the Memex, a device in which an individual stores all his books, records, and communications, and which may be consulted with speed and flexibility. It is the first supplement to memory. In the late 1990s, Microsoft researcher Gordon Bell began trying to record, scan and index everything he read, wrote, watched and heard, using the SenseCam, a digital camera that hangs from his neck and snaps photos automatically through the day. Google today is working on technologies that make him even closer to Bush's ideal, the Google Glasses. In December, Google hired the artificial intelligence guru, Ray Kurzweil, to head an engineer team that's rumored to be working on personal assistant technologies that will intuit and deliver the information you need before you even have to ask. Ritchie, the UC Davis neuroscientist, points out that the human brain is already adept at forming and acting on intentions. Trying to train a computer to guess our thoughts might result in a lot of false alarms and needless alerts.
The printing press made the printed page popular, and as that happened, as more and more people sat down and read books, it in effect trained them to be more attentive thinkers. It encourages concentration and attentive thinking. And so to me, the printing press is a great example of how a technology can change the way we think, and in this case, make us more attentive, even more contemplative thinkers. The internet does exactly the opposite. It bombards us with distraction. It keeps us pretty much in a perpetual state of distraction, constant interruption. I think it encourages a more superficial way of thinking. Our brains adapt to what we use them for, and they adapt to the technologies we use. And when you read a printed page, the ways of thinking that, in effect, you're training yourself to do are the ways that require deep attention, close concentration on one thing. And those types of thinking, it turns out, have been associated with the ability to create deep memories in our own minds, to create the connections between information and experiences that give richness and depth to our thought, to certain types of conceptual thinking and critical thinking and even creative thinking. What you have with the net, you lose things like deep conceptual thinking, or at least hamper it in deep critical thinking and even deep creative thinking. Actually, when we multitask, what we're really doing is shifting our attention very, very quickly among different things. So we're not doing two things simultaneously. Our brain has to attune itself to one thing, then clear that thing out and attune itself to another thing. People who do a whole lot of multitasking begin to lose their ability to distinguish important information from trivia. That experience of getting something new begins to be the overriding goal in their intellectual lives. Giving the advice, and that is to not be so reliant on our gadgets and to give ourselves time away from that constant influx of information. But there's increasing pressure on us to be constantly connected in our work lives, in our social lives, and so forth. You have to begin changing the signals that schools and employers and governments and institutions give, and begin to say, you know, it's okay to be disconnected sometimes. It's okay to think deeply and quietly sometimes. And
to conclude, as Albert Einstein once said when he failed to remember the speed of sound, I do not carry such information in my mind, since it is readily available in books. So, just as calculators enable math students to focus on theorems and proofs, ubiquitous access to the content of Wikipedia and the web allow us to devote more cognitive space to thinking critically and building bridges between ideas.